What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Different Lens podcast. My name is Juan Felipe Sierra, and you are?
I'm Daniel.
So I just wanted to kind of give a weekly recap of how you doing, how's life,
Yeah. Man, my week has been crazy. I got my final next week.
Yeesh.
Um,
Tell the people what you're studying.
Cybersecurity.
Dang.
Yeah, I got my final next week already. Signed up for classes, so it's been a lot of things. Also with work, it's been heavy, crazy. But yeah, what about you?
It's been rough. By the time of this recording, which we always do a few episodes ahead,
Yes.
a game that I worked on is going to come out. It's called Fatal Fury City of the Wolves, where I play Cristiano Ronaldo. And I've had very much like a sense of like, I want it to come out. So that and also I've been trying to get more stuff when it comes to voice acting. So a lot of castings, a lot of stuff, and then just editing this. So it's
Cool.
rough. It's cool. Like I like how really dynamic my life is when it comes to that.
Busy lives.
Yeah. But what do we have for today, sir?
Yeah, man. I mean, today, I want to talk about music.
Okay.
We haven't talked a lot about music. A little bit here and there, we've talked about music, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the resurgence of vinyls, right? Because, and I'm not going to say it's recent because it's not like the past 2 years, 3 years. I think it's been happening maybe like 2010s where like people started like kind of getting more into vinyls again and like buying more vinyls and vinyl players and stuff like that. I personally myself, I'm one of those persons that I generally think they look cool. So I went out of my way to get a vinyl player in Amazon, cheap, doesn't have the best quality, but I get to play vinyls. And so, I don't know, there's something about it. So I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that kind of like resurgence because I don't personally think that they necessarily make the music sound better, but it could be psychological that like you feel like it sounds better. Because it looks cooler.
there is a level of like, kind of like, I know it smells like shit so bad. I've been trying not to make any faces about that, but it smells horrible. It smells so bad. It smells horrendous, bro. Your cat took a giant shit, bro.
Bro, at first I thought it was a coffee. I was confused. I was like, what the fuck is that smell? I was like, oh shit. Oh god.
Anyways, it's gonna make for a great fucking clip.
God damn.
I'm leaving this in.
Okay. Jesus. I'm sorry, bro. It's so pungent.
So yeah, I do feel that there's like a certain texture to it, kind of like when you see a film that it's made on actual like film and you see like the jittery and everything. So there is a certain quality to it that you're like, it's not better or it's not worse, but it just feels different. It just has that vintage feel and vintage look that we all crave, because at the end of the day, that's why it's been coming back, because people are finding that iTunes and all of these like streaming services, they can remove songs whenever they want. People are seeing now that having the physical media, how it was back in the day, you really have that sense of ownership of, this is mine. Nobody's gonna take this away. This is mine. I can have it forever.
Yeah, 100%. Because I feel like nowadays with everything being online, right? Like all the formats of everything being online, it kind of, like you're never the owner of something anymore. Right? Because I believe it also happens in the gaming industry where like some of the games, like when you buy them online, right? When you buy the digital copy, at any time that game can be pulled out of the market and you no longer own that, right? Because it has just been pulled completely, or they just, I don't know, let's say you cancel, I don't know, whatever happens, but you don't own it.
Yeah. Like right now, I've heard a few people say that instead of owning it, you're just borrowing the license. Like you just rent it for an extended period of time. So yeah, I agree 100% with you.
Yeah, I feel like some of those games, maybe in a few years, we might maybe we can't play them anymore. Same thing with some music. Maybe at some point, in the future we can't listen to certain songs because maybe, who knows, right? Maybe they just aren't playable. But there's something so nice about the vinyls. Like, they look so nice. Like, there's some that are like so special because like they make like the special version. I don't know if you remember, but when Saltburn came out, like the movie Saltburn, they announced that a company announced that they were gonna make so there's a scene in the movie where like Jacob Elordi's taking a shower, right? And after he finishes the shower, he does some things in the shower, and then he leaves, and then Barry Cogan, I don't know how to say his last name. Keegan. Okay, he comes in and he drinks the water from the bathtub.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's fucked up. And the company said that they were gonna make a vinyl with some bathtub water inside.
What the fuck?
Now, the fact that it might not even work, because obviously with the water, I don't know if it'll fuck up like the spinning and shit like that. But imagine having that cool piece of like, like it's a cool piece. It's like a vinyl with water inside. I mean, that thing is pretty dope.
Did you ever watch Dr. Stone?
No. Oh yeah, I did.
So do you
anime,
yeah, do you remember that they made a vinyl out of a piece of glass?
Yeah.
Just by like that, to me gives me that feeling of like, can we have like a vinyl made of glass and just kind of like have it kind of like Dr. Stone? Like maybe it could be the music from Dr. Stone, but in a piece of glass. I'd be like, that's fucking genius. Like that would make great marketing for the fucking show.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that certain vinyls, like going back a little bit, they look cool. Like it adds a cool factor to it where for me personally, that was one of the reasons why I went out of my way to buy one. Actually, as a matter of fact, if you guys can see it, I have the Guardians of the Galaxy, which is like a nice orange vinyl that has like kind of like a swirl to it. So I don't know. For me, it was cool. I did it more for like the aesthetic of it. I thought it would look cool on my living room. So I'm guilty of doing it for the reason of purely aesthetic, and I thought it would look cool. But I genuinely seen that there's some systems that are like really expensive to play these vinyls. I just don't know if it improves anything in the sound or anything like that.
It might have a more accurate needle to the point where it could pick up the minutia a little bit better.
Yeah.
Or the sound quality might improve.
No, yeah, but I mean in like the quality of the song, like the way that we listen to music, because we now most music is formatted like to be released digitally and stuff like that. So I don't know if the vinyl has maybe different quality. Like
I said, it's all about the texture of how it feels, and plus like you're not listening to your headphones, you're listening through a speaker system, so it gives it a different feel to it. But I remember like I used to be an event photographer, and there was one time that I did a quinceañera, and the girl actually asked for a vinyl player and a Taylor Swift vinyl. And they played that all night. And I was like, that is the coolest thing ever, because they're not asking for stupid shit like that. They're asking for something that is going to have tangible, long-lasting value. Because even in my grandma's house, like she still has vinyl from like the 70s from from Vicente Fernandez. And I'm like, that is fucking cool. That is awesome, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up... I think obviously when we grew up, I think vinyls were still kind of there, right? I think they were kind of dying out a little bit in like the early 90s, like late 90s, I would say, not early 90s.
Oh, no, early 90s. Yeah,
well, 1994, but I'm saying like when we were kind of growing up, it was kind of dying out.
Yeah.
But my dad always made a habit of collecting. He would buy vinyls that were the complete, like the best songs of like X artists. And so most of his vinyls that he had a big ass collection of vinyls that he left in Colombia, but most of the vinyls that he had were like the best of. So like for example, let's say Michael Jackson, he was like the best songs of Michael Jackson the
compilation
in a vinyl. So and they were like those Black Nice vinyls. Nice. So it's cool. I actually bought one not too long ago for Nirvana. Wow, no, it wasn't Nirvana. It was Carlos Santana. So I have a Carlos Santana, best of Carlos Santana over here, which is pretty dope.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like it just brings that level of vintage that, because, a lot of vintage things have come back, like thrift stores, like country music, like not like modern country music, but like old country music. And even on TikTok, there's a lot of sounds that are like from the 60s and 70s that people are like, oh, like this was great music. Let's put it back into the market. So I feel like there's a lot of that sense of let's bring that spice back. That like
I feel like there is like a sense of nostalgia that a lot of people are craving to a degree. Where like like at least personally, that also there was it kind of symbolizes a time, and not necessarily vinyls, because obviously I didn't grow up in the era where like vinyls were like it, but it kind of symbolizes an era where like maybe you were a little bit less like worry free, right?
Yeah.
Like growing up, you're like, you don't have to deal with adulting and stuff like that, so you're more like, you know, I remember when you had a little iPod and you used to like just listen to music, hang out with friends, and you didn't have to worry about so many things. And I feel like that nostalgia is kind of like, it's kind of coming back. We see it like now with like 2000 things being more dominant now, so I wouldn't be surprised if we like start seeing like old iPods eventually, or like maybe, who knows, maybe people start popularizing the Walkmans again. I don't know.
I would love that. I used to have a Walkman and a Discman, so I would walk in that shed all the time. And like I think it's just people are craving real again, and they're craving like tangible things that you could carry everywhere and you could have them with you. So I hope it really comes back, because it's a great way to kind of like revolutionize things that we've been doing in the past.
I had a shuffle. The iPod shuffle.
iPod shuffle. I had the iPod Nano, the one that was like a little square. Yeah, I had that one. Yeah, it was funny.
You know, it's funny. It's like it brings me back to talking about it. It just brings me back. Like, you remember where like how you used to download the songs?
Oh yeah, and then you had to pair it with iTunes. Yeah, like, LimeWire and Atlas.
I used to use one called Aries.
Yeah, not Atlas. Aries.
And it was questionable. I'm sure
you downloaded one of two things. It was either the song or porn.
Or simply you were just putting malware into your computer.
That too.
Spyware, malware, whatever it is.
That's
today, now with so much cybersecurity issues, I'm sure that is a big thing. That would have,
I'm sure,
hurt a lot of people. But
yeah, I'm sure.
Hey, listen, at the end of the day, it's part of that nostalgia, right? Like growing up and dealing with things. But you know, talking about Santana brings me back to my next point, which is now I feel like, obviously this has happened always, but like I feel like music has always had like a nice cultural, it's been always like a nice cultural melting pot, where we have a nice diversity of music, but it also combines a lot of genres sometimes, and then we get some mixes that are just really cool. And Santana has always been also one of those musicians that has always combined a little bit of like nice different themes and like different genres. But I feel like, you know, that as it progressed, we've had more crossovers throughout time, and then obviously more sound has been kind of like mixed. How do you feel about that? Do you like that?
I do, to a certain degree. Here's what I don't like: that music stops, like it starts not having an identity. So it just becomes mix after mix, and let's see how much we can mix, and we forgot about like traditional genres in a way.
Okay.
Where now rock is not rock. It's like either progressive rock, alternative rock, pop rock. You know, there's so many different genres of rock, or like pop, or, you know, Latin music, or, you know, urban music. So there's not like a genre, a specific, correct.
Definitive.
So now it's not reggaeton, it's pop, tropical reggaeton with hip hop influence. So it's like what are we doing? Yeah. I don't want to be like a hard delineation, but let's bring some things that are just that. You know how reggaeton used to sound back in the day, that it was just reggaeton. It didn't have so many like bachata influences or vallenato influences, which I love. I absolutely love, but it's like it loses its identity. And I feel like that also happens with people that don't know how to appreciate true genres based on what they like, because everything is so melded and everything is so kind of like fusion of a lot of things. So I think I do like a lot of rhythms, but I do feel like we're lacking that sense of this is rock, this is pop, this is reggaeton, this is hip hop. So I would love to see more delineations in that.
That's interesting, because I, on the other hand, really appreciate how, again, it's been like a merging of cultures and different genres that has allowed so many artists to really express themselves and explore so much, whereas before it would be really strange, for example, to think of I don't know, like Michael Jackson playing a song with a Spanish artist, right? Like a salsa or something. Like it would be weird to think about those things, whereas nowadays it's not uncommon to see, for example, Elton John with J Balvin or something, right? Like you could have a mix of music that you would have never thought it was possible, right? It brings some weird crossovers that are like, at times it works, some other times it doesn't, but it can have some really nice songs that, again, a lot of cultures, a lot of different countries are like, wow, man, like that's cool. Like an artist that was local to you maybe now is playing with like an artist, like a huge artist from like France or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, like I said, I'm not totally against it, but for example, like I would like back in the 80s, rock bands and specifically metal bands used to have to do ballads, at least one ballad song, and that would be like the popular song from them. So like Metallica had between what is it? Metallica had And Nothing Else Matters.
Yeah.
Limp Bizkit had Behind Blue Eyes.
Behind Blue Eyes, yeah.
You know, a lot of those hard, like had beautiful melodic songs that I think people enjoyed, but it wasn't the main focus of the CD or the disc or whatever. But I do feel like if you have one or two songs, that's great. But when the whole album is genre bending and that becomes your whole career, that's when I feel like people lose the identity of what they're trying to do.
Okay. I mean, I feel like it's just a new way of expressing themselves, because obviously we still have a lot of bands that are very specific to what they do, right? Like we have very, very specific artists that still do what they do and keeping within the genre. Obviously, from time to time, we see those that kind of like bend the rules a little bit. Like, for example, Bad Bunny, right? That he introduced a lot of different music into his
repertoire,
right? Like we're playing salsa, we're playing a little bit of rock, we're playing a little bit of corridos. So, you know, he plays a little bit of all that, but that became his essence. It became kind of that situation of Bad Bunny being like this artist that blends everything together, and it works for him, right? But then we also have other artists like Taylor Swift, who has dedicated to a very specific type of music, pop, and she's rocked with it ever since, right? And then we have like kind of Ed Sheeran, who's played a little bit, you know.
Yeah, like to me, the best person that has been able to bend genres and to go one from the other and always have a fucking hit is Bruno Mars. Bruno Mars is unbelievable. I love Bruno Mars music, his style, his level of comprehension to each style, because like you've seen people do other genres or other musical like styles and they don't land it. Why? Because they don't understand the essence of it. But for example, Bruno Mars, since he is a musician and he does play a lot of instruments and he does write for other artists, he understands the essence of things. So that's why like I give him a pass, because he truly takes the time to understand what the other thing is, whether it's hip hop, it's K-pop, it's pop, it's ballads, whether it's like love songs, you know, he can play it all because he understands them. So he's one artist that I'm like, 100% he can do it, but not everybody can do it, and not everybody at the same time, you know? So that's the part that I'm like,
Yeah, what are some interesting collabs that you're like, man, like, I don't know, that I wasn't expecting that?
I mean, even from back in the day, you had like the Beatles with Chuck Berry. That was a truly revolutionizing song because, you know, it was in the 60s when all of the civil rights problems were going on. And to have a British band made from white people, to have one of the greatest guitarists and singers in the black community, that was very like surprising, and the genre was awesome. But when it comes to like modern stuff, that's tough. There certainly have been certain singers that I'm like, I would have never pictured you doing that. Like, for example, when Freddie Mercury sang with, I believe it was either Plácido Domingo or Luciano Pavarotti, and he hit like the notes from opera. I was like, holy shit.
Freddie was a beast.
Freddie was just a different kind of singer. When, like, for example, like, I love the Jonas Brothers, and when they played with Sebastián Yatra, I'm like, fucking awesome. I love that, like, melding of cultures. Or Joe Jonas, when he played with a Colombian artist, Ella Taubert. I love that song because it brings in the English and Spanish and the same meaning of things, but how it sounds different when it comes to the language barrier. So I
you know which one I really loved? Pharrell Williams with Daft Punk.
Oh yeah,
that was awesome. That was a great song, man. Yeah, I mean,
that's Lucky. We have to fun. Is that one right?
That's actually another one. There have two.
Oh,
wait.
I was thinking about that one.
Yeah. but isn't the other one Happy? Because no,
that's all him.
No, that's all him. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I was. Anyways, I think there was one that I had seen that I haven't heard the song, but apparently Lana Del Rey, Miley Cyrus, and Ariana Grande have a song.
Oh,
and I was like, "Whoa, shit!" Like, yeah, like I looked it up because I didn't think that they had done one. I haven't heard the song. I'm sorry, but it's called "Don't Call Me Angel." And apparently has the three of them, which is interesting because they were different labels and everything. So, I assume that sometimes when they're in a similar label or same label, I'm sure like maybe a collab.
It's easier.
Yeah, it's easier to like program a collab. But when they're in different labels, I'm like, oh wow, that's interesting.
You know what's probably one of my favorite songs that I would have been like, I would have never pictured that, and understanding the story, the history behind it, and the context behind the song is Elton John and Eminem with Stan. They made a show because at that moment Eminem was being called a homophobe because of a lot of his lyrics. And what people didn't know is that Elton John was the one that got him out of drugs. So he was getting clean because Elton John was the one that was like, no, I'll get you out of drugs. Just come with me. Just do what I do, whatever. So in an MTV show, in an MTV show in live, they were singing Stan, which originally was with Dido, but he was there playing the piano, and I prefer that version because it feels more raw. Even though originally the song is from Dido, and then Eminem adapted it to his song, and then later changed it to Elton John. To me, it just feels more like a connection, like they genuinely have a connection. So, and plus, like Elton John is a fantastic singer. So
yeah. I know Skrillex has also been
Skrillex
has also participated with a few artists. Marshmello, I think, has a few songs. I think even Bad Bunny has one with like some Mexican artists that play like kind of like boleros. Yeah, but they kind of have that, But like I said, I'm not opposed to having from time to time like a nice collab. It's like a little different, and especially when like it's an artist that you like and they come up with a song. For example, if you or look at the album of Beyonce that she did, the country album.
And Cowboy Carter.
And she won. I think she won the
best country album, which to me was like, what? Yeah,
but like it's kind of like a bending of the genres, right? Going from her usual to country, and making, I guess, a banger. I'm sorry, I haven't heard it. I am sorry.
I've only heard the one that is like, this ain't Texas. There's no hold.
Oh, that's from her.
Down.
You see, bro, I haven't even know that.
Yeah, it's a great song.
I'm sorry.
I sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a catchy song.
That's a great song.
But see, there's something about country nowadays that kind of has also been getting a little bit more poppy, like more going towards like the pop now, where I don't disagree with it because it kind of, I guess, has opened the door a little bit more for country. Obviously, some people just like the original old school country, but for some of the people, they've been liking that new, I guess.
Yeah, they call them like stadium country.
Yeah.
Kind of like how back in the day it used to be called stadium rock. The kind of rock that it was like, oh yeah, it's all for chicks and whatever. That's the same thing that I feel that it's happening with country. And I wholly disagree with that level of country, because country in its origins was a way for people to release all of the pent up anger and sadness and tragedy from just working fields and from having shitty jobs and from never knowing respite from just living a farm life. So it was a way to express emotions, real raw emotions. That's why, Willie Nelson is so prevalent. That's why, Kenny Rogers, Dolly Parton, like their songs were so different. Tracy Chapman, like their songs were about struggle. They were about love. They were about, all of that. So when even Bo Burnham made fun of it, like I think it was like something like 10 years ago or so, when he said that like country just became a way for white people to pander to other white people, and how it's not so much about truth and honesty. It's all about like talking about pickup trucks, chicks, and beer and guns. And it's like, you've lost the essence of it. That's why to me it's so important to know the essence, because if you know the essence, you're going to be able to understand how to carry it forward to the next generation.
With that being said, do you think the vast majority of these changes that have been occurring are being stemming from social media, like the influence that the media has now, like, right, like it popularizes a certain thing? And I think we talked a little bit about it in the previous episode where we were saying that now maybe like the studio, not the studios, but like the labels are forcing some artists to do a certain type of music, just because they want them to stay relevant, to stay within the norms nowadays of like the social media. Do you think that's what's happening, and that's why so many artists are now starting to combine so many genres, because they want to maintain themselves relevant, because you know they can be, I guess, global very easily?
100%. Like even artists that started in like a very ballad way, like Fonseca, I would have never pictured Fonseca doing reggaeton, and he's done it.
Yeah.
So it's a very specific brand of reggaeton where it's very like, I'm not gonna say anything controversial, but I still think that there is a lot of things where it's like it's about relevance, and that's why I believe that true salsa, like true salsa, hasn't been made good in a long time, because they lost the essence, because salsa is not so much popular anymore, or merengue is not so much popular anymore. That's why like everything is like salsa reggaeton, merengue reggaeton, bachata reggaeton, because reggaeton just took over. And I'm seeing now a decline on how people react to reggaeton now, and I hope those genres, but like the true essence of those genres, come back. I believe that salsa specifically is the greatest Latin rhythm to tell stories. You know, like
I agree.
Like Simón, like No Le Pega la Negra, like you know, all of those, like Juanito Alimaña, you know,
Rubén Blades has
some bangers, bro.
Bangers, dude.
So they were able to tell really complex, really detailed, really emotionally charged songs that you could still fucking like. How many of us have danced to No Le Pega la, and it's a song about slavery and abuse, and you know, but we're like ding 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 ding, you know. So but in the depths of it, it's all about like tragedy and really raw emotions. So I really hope that does really come back, and that we forget about the kind of like surface area music that is just, let's just keep entertained, that people are really willing to tell more raw and deeper meanings to their music.
I just feel like we're inevitably continuing to go into this era of where social media just kind of dictates a lot of it, unfortunately. Where I don't see that coming back anytime soon, because right now it's like, I think like the kind of like the mix is what everybody's kind of into it right now. You know how like we were talking about the vinyls at the beginning?
Yeah.
It might be a little bit of time before we actually start seeing some of that, I think, in my opinion. That's not to say that we have artists doing specifically the genres and playing what they play, but you know what? I'm very biased to saying that social media has damaged a lot of it.
Oh yeah.
But credit where credit is due. It has also been a platform for new artists all across the world to come to light and for us to find them. Just one example, that an artist that I probably would have never listened to or heard of unless it was for social media. I probably heard it in like Arcane. And then...
What, Imagine Dragons?
No.
And the French ones?
Yes.
Yeah.
Stromae. I have no idea how to say his name.
Yeah.
So I would have never listened to his songs on my own because I would have never found them. Yet I've heard him before he even came into Arcane, but also watching Arcane and seeing kind of like the social media and YouTube and stuff like that, little Tiny Desk and stuff like that here and there, a little sprinkle of everything here and there. I'm like, man, that's cool.
I mean, if you really think about it,
I don't think his name is Stromae. Stromae was somebody else. We'll put it that day. But yeah,
but I love the fact that like, everything has its positives and negatives. For example, I discovered Teddy Swims because of social media, and for example, an artist, a band that it's just a fucking trailblazing in a lot of things, which is Catriel and Paco Amoroso.
I love them.
They got super big because of Tiny Desk.
Yeah.
So now
they were huge. This is not to say they're not big. They were huge in Argentina, right?
But it was in Argentina, and then that Tiny Desk just blew them up globally.
Yeah. Some parts of Latin America, South America, sorry, was they had fans here and there, but after the Tiny Desk, it
just blew up. And I'm glad that they were able to switch genres because it was the best thing for them. But again, it's because they understood what to make the best of when it came to that.
Yeah. So, like I said, I don't want to necessarily always be so negative about social media. I am a lot of the times just because I see most of the negatives, right?
Correct.
Like the relevancy, the level of the relevancy that now artists have in social media is very scary because it's like you have your little golden minute and then that's it.
Yeah.
Right. But overall, I also have to give, again, credit where credit is due and say, well, it has also introduced us to so many great artists that we would have never even thought about listening to before.
Either introduced us or remind us of a few.
Remind us,
like Backstreet Boys came back
yeah.
because of Brooklyn Nine-Nine and because of a few TikTok challenges, and now they blew up again, and Sync blew up again. So
absolutely,
there's a lot of things that just reminded us of what you were saying of an easier time. That it's like, oh my God, I forgot about that artist. Fuck yeah.
What genres you think genuinely would make a terrible combination? Like if they would put them together, like for example, like K-pop and I don't know, like let's say they do
Curulao.
Yeah, like K-pop and like salsa. What the fuck would that be?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there have been a rise in Japan and Korea of like salsa bands that they sing in Spanish.
I've seen it.
So like, what was the thing? Like La Banda del Sol, which is a Japanese salsa.
Yeah, but they're singing songs. They're singing salsa songs. I'm saying like blending the genres and like mixing them.
I'm sure. Yeah, like for example, one horrendous one that I could think of is Trovería and ¿cómo se llama este? And like a ballad.
Mm-hmm.
No, fuck that.
You know which one I think would be really weird? Reggae and country.
I don't.
Really?
I think it'd be fucking. I think there
you think
are.
It'd be cool?
I think it'd be cool.
I'm sure there is.
Yeah, there's even like reggae metal.
Oh God.
And it's so fucking cool because I've even heard like metal jazz. That is awesome. It's so cool. Like I love when new experimental things come out. I just don't like it when everything blends all the fucking time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, definitely let us know down in the comments some genres you think that generally wouldn't mix up too well. If you agree with one or you agree with me. But in general, like, I don't know. I feel like there's just some things that shouldn't mix. But hey, listen, it could work.
And also, please tell us what artist either you discovered or you got reminded of because of social media. So please let us know.
The other thing is, I know we've talked a little bit about the collabs and the studios, not the studios, the labels making them happen, right? Do you think that we are eventually going to start getting a new transition in the labels onto how the music is being produced? And I think we talked a little bit about it because of the social media, right? Like we talked a little bit about the introduction of social media and how songs are written more specifically. Like, do you think it has affected also the format of the songs? Like the way that the song is introduced, maybe like the intro, like back in the day we had some music where like the intro was like a whole minute of like the introduction or like the solos, right? Like, I don't think we get a lot of solos anymore. Right. Do you think that also social media has affected that and then therefore the labels have made those changes as well? It's
a really complex thing to answer because, for example, we have all seen like the solo from Freebird, from Lynyrd Skynyrd's from the 60s, be like, and you see like fight scenes or like, people making fight scenes out of like dolls or whatever. So I think it's so up in the air because you could have a really good solo, make it, and it's like everybody's using that solo or everybody's using that bridge of a song. But I do definitely think like somebody like Jason Derulo. Jason Derulo has been making songs from social media and for social media for like at least 6 or 7 years, like even through Vine. Like, that song of like, take down love, that somebody. I hate Jason Derulo. I really hate his music. I think it's really terrible. But I think that there's going to be a lot a lot of artists that want to hit that niche of the social media, women that dance to those songs, of the people that make choreography, because I've seen some tremendous groups of people that I think there's one that is called like Basement Dance or Basement or the Basement Boys or whatever, and it's like 3 guys that literally make choreography out of any song, and they make some really funny, really creative ones, and some that I'm like, cool, but at least they're bringing other genres of music into the zeitgeist. So I do believe that even though there's some that are going to be making music specifically for social media, like how Dua Lipa, who I love Dua Lipa, made like what is it, I want you, Moonlight,
I know the song.
Levitating.
Yeah. Okay.
Levitating.
There you go.
It's specifically for TikTok. It's specifically for TikTok. Even in the music video, there's a giant TikTok sign.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's made for social
I think
media.
you mentioned that in the previous episode.
Right. So, but I do believe that people are stepping away from the generic music, the generic sounding music with the generic sounding lyrics, into deeper songs. Like, that's why I do believe that Kendrick Lamar, yes, because of his beef with Drake, came really, really popular into like last year and this year, but it's also because of everything that he represents and the music that he represents and the lyrics that he says.
Right. I definitely see how some artists definitely still stand by that, but I just feel like we're seeing continue to see an increase, and we're going to continue to see an increase of artists just doing the music for the media, for the social media.
Oh yeah, like Lil Pump and like yeah.
And it's just gonna, I mean, music without essence, right? Just music out there. And music has been one of the best ways to elicit emotions, right? Of pretty much almost any type of media, right? More than movies, more than everything. Because in 3 minutes, 4 minutes of a song, you can go all the way from being happy to being sad to being angry, for any type, right?
So it's more readily available.
Yeah, it elicits so much emotions, right? So I definitely love the fact that we can feel so many emotions with the songs, right? In such a short time. And I really love artists that can do that. And I mean, I would love to see more of that and to continue with that, rather than, and storytelling, because I think it's really cool, rather than trying to just make a viral song and just kind of like a one hit and you're just like, well, yeah, it was good, but you know.
I think that's been going around all through social media, because if you look at the format of the video essay, there are a lot of people that are making video essays with a lot of deep meanings and a lot of really good storytelling, and that has gained more popularity than just like, bullshit, pranks. And that's why I do believe that prank culture of like the mid 2010s, I think it's died down a lot, because people are like, no, I think it's really stupid and it's really dangerous. Let me look at something that, like feeds my soul a little bit more. So I love that people are, again, finding things that are deeper and finding things that are more to that level of who they are as a person, rather than just like what is called like junk food or junk media. There is, of course, gonna be a rise of like terrible artists that make terrible music just because it sounds kind of nice. And I'm gonna use a friend,
Island Boys,
and I mean Island Boys. Yeah, I'm gonna use a phrase that a friend of mine, Romulo, says, like they're gonna need Melodyne up the ass. Melodyne is like autotune. And we're going to see people that don't know how to sing, and they're going to be really popular. And we see them already. But like, if you see somebody like Lana Del Rey, like Teddy Swims, like Hozier, like a lot of these artists that really know how to sing, that really know how to tell a story, they're not so immediate, but they're long lasting.
Yeah.
And I think that's how it's going to become with social media.
Yeah, there is one artist that I can recommend if you like that type of music where you listen to a story and everything. His name is Ren. He's from UK. Have you heard him?
I haven't.
I think he has a song called Ren, where he is basically talking about, he sits down with a gown, right? And he starts playing the guitar, and he's basically having a conversation with his alter ego, or like his other version, where he's basically fighting with him, saying, you don't need me, like you need me. And he's like telling you, no, I don't need you, and the drugs that they've been giving me is to suppress you. And he's like, yeah, but I am part of you. Like, it's like him having a fight with himself, and he's like, I'm learning how to be myself without you, which is the other version of him. And it's a very powerful song. Like you can see it's tons of people reacting to that song because it's a very powerful message of identity, right? And dealing with a real problem, right? A real mental issue where you have, like a dual personality and stuff like that. And and he has a few other stories where he tells like genuine stories. There's one there's like, it's like a little couple dating, and like one is like walking down the night and stuff like that. I mean, he tells stories, right? And he also blends a little bit of genres where he sang some reggae as well, but he's very talented. I highly recommend him. His name is Ryan. I'll leave him in the description for you guys. But do you have any artists that you can recommend that you generally see like the effort that they put into writing a song that tells a story? Do you have anybody that you can recommend out of the top of your head?
Yes. First of all, Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah.
I think
100%.
Especially like his older CDs there's one song that completely broke my heart, and it's called Keisha's Song, where he talks about the life and death of a prostitute, and how, even the cops who were supposed to help the prostitutes be safe end up abusing the prostitutes too. You have something like Mad City, you have something like DNA, Humble. You have a lot of music that are just extremely talented. Ed Sheeran, Louis Capaldi, Adele, these artists that are just, you can see that they pour their whole
Do you have anybody
being.
who's a little bit more, maybe not as
less known?
Yeah.
In Spanish, it's Zoe.
Okay.
Zoe is like, their music is just deep and just like very ethereal in their ideas.
Yeah. Okay.
There's this one song specifically that I highly recommend. Is called oh my God, I forgot the name of it. En el faro de tu amor.
We'll leave the name.
Arrullo de Estrellas. Arrullo Estrellas.
I'll leave the link down too as well if you're gonna want to listen to that song.
I actually, just before we close the episode, because we're almost running out of time, I have a little surprise for you.
Okay.
That I had an artist commission something really cool for us. So I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna put it kind of up here when we're doing the whole reaction. But this is the first one.
Oh shit, that's nice.
So that's the first one. That it's one with like also the background and stuff.
I'm like
This is a shoot. This is you.
Cool. Okay.
This is you.
That's awesome.
And this is me. I look like a dad.
Yeah, you do.
I look like because my mustache is so prominent that I'm like, can you tone it down a little? He's like, yeah, I'm just make it lighter. I'm like, but I just look like a dad. And just I love how he made you. He made you so like rugged and so like boyish but manly. I love it. As soon as I saw him, I was like,
looks cool. Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna be posting that on our social media. I mean, by the time we bring this up, it's gonna be already on it. But I just wanted to have your reaction to it.
Cool. Yeah, I did one too. We had to post that one still.
Yeah, of course. It was made.
That was cool.
It was made by Waldo Arte. He's a Venezuelan artist. I highly recommend it. We're also gonna leave his social media handle on the description. But if you want to sign us off.
Yeah. So before I let you guys go, let us know down in the comments what crossover has surprised you, what artists you can recommend that hasn't that is not, I guess, as mainstream but tells nice stories and stuff like that. We'd definitely love to hear you guys. But where can they find you on social media?
They can find me most anywhere in social media spaces as Juanfe Sierra or Juanfe Sierra Cortez. I also do Twitch. We have a little companion again.
One more
time. Let's bring it back.
And
Twitch as Lenta Diferente or, different YouTube channel. Oh, my God, bro. First you take a shit and you make it smell all over the place. Now you invade us, Mike.
Well, she's helping us send it off.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you can find me as Dan Valder in social media, and we'll see you guys on Mondays at 7 p.m.
You're like this.
Yeah, I'm like, we'll see you guys on Mondays at 7 p.m. and definitely like and subscribe, and see you guys. Peace.